Good day and welcome America and beyond. Tom Donahue for Tom Donahue Reports. Patriotism in action, putting America first and New World Order dead last. We're going to give you the political scorecard, the breakdown, the takeaways. We're going to cover the headlines and the headliners. And let's start with the occupation of Wall Street. Common folks, but yes, there's infiltrators, agents, saboteurs, provocateurs. There's a lot of misguided souls, but the overriding concept of the banksters and Bankstergate and NWO and the money powers, the power elite, controlling things, dominating, and quite frankly, so many feel like they've been pummeled, pulverized, become peons on the plantation to these banksters and to this power elite, to this shadow government, to this unseen hand, to this unaccountable group that see themselves as, well, quite frankly, just the elitist. And they believe that they are deserving of that role and that control and that subjugation of the common folks. And so, even though there are misguided souls, in spite of the agent provocateurs and saboteurs, and quite frankly, when they use terms, either intentionally or unintentionally, directed at capitalism, free market, free enterprise, it really hurts their cause. It only helps morons like Michael Moore that says essentially that it's not the Federal Reserve. We have more important things to concern ourselves with, like capitalism has to go. Well, if that's the case, then donate all your money to the United States Treasury or to the Federal Reserve itself, okay? Or just simply give it to the homeless, the poor, and be a charitable soul. Don't think that's going to happen. As I mentioned in the previous report, it's about monopoly capitalism, crony capitalism. It's about this aggregating of wealth in less than 1% of the population, and in most instances did not earn it, do not deserve it. Okay? We're talking about the special interests, the privileged, and the powerful that have essentially controlled or manipulated the tax system to their advantage. So we're dealing with a criminal class of cretins, in this crony capitalist world. And it's more about monopoly capitalism as it relates to the media monopoly, as it relates to this corporate conglomeration. Eustace Mullins told me back in the 1980s, the author of Secrets of the Federal Reserve and the World Order, that really you essentially have one corporation, and that corporation is the NWO, the New World Order. The reason he felt that way is if you look at the board of directorships of the major corporations, they are interlocking directorships. They're all the same people that sit on the same boards that control or own majority shares in the major companies of the world, these transnational corporations. So NAFTA, GATT, so-called free trade agreements that are not fair and not in the best interest of America. Corporate conglomeration, consolidation, this monopoly capitalism, crony capitalism, and overriding all this is the banksters and gangsters of the Federal Reserve System, its owners and its associates, which trace back to the House of Rothschild, the Bank of England, etc. So when Michael Moore gets in there and mucks things up and misguides and misleads and misfeeds the impoverished and the powerless, and they say, it's all about capitalism. Well, communism, if you look at Russia or China or you can look at the former Soviet Union, you'll realize that the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, those folks loved it. They financed it. They controlled it. Because it's a lot easier to control a tyrant, a dictatorship, unless he rebels or tries to repel them. And in most instances, that won't happen. So you control a small group of people that control, the masses, rather than having free elections and freewheelers and free spirits and those that may not be necessarily beholden to the money interest. So I want to applaud the spirit, not necessarily the mentality, but the spirit of many of those that are fighting the good fight in the occupation of Wall Street. Even though some of those energies and some of the actions are misguided, but there's police brutality. There is this Republican Fox News, so-called, country club Republican attitude and reportage of this event that, in my view, is warped, is distorted, and is perverted. And the reason I say that is because they want to focus on just a few catchphrases, a few banners, and the fact that, okay, maybe some of the folks have baggy clothes. Maybe they smell a little bit. Maybe they're not maybe they don't look like the foxy foxes on the Fox News. But they're people that have legitimate gripes. I thought we had a First Amendment where we could peaceably assemble. Okay, I thought we had a right to redress grievances, and so protest is in our DNA. It's part of our genealogy. Protest, revolution, and if you don't understand that, then you don't understand the founding fathers, the founders, the framers of this great country. The American spirit lives on. So again, in all movements, they're corrupted, they're polluted, they're infiltrated, and misguided. I mean, Tea Party movement is a perfect example. The Republicans not only instigated much of that, but they hijacked even legitimate factions of this grassroots groundswell movement, and now they've been just basically swallowed up. And if you don't believe that, Michelle Bachmann would be doing a lot better. She'd be a top-tier candidate if it was truly a legitimate alternative to the Republican Party, because what other person on that stage has represented the Tea Party movement and fought for its principles more than Michelle Bachmann? Nobody. Now, Ron Paul's fought more for libertarian interest and free market interest, and quite frankly, Ron does come up with some kooky ideas and some things I disagree with, and we talked about him being charismatically challenged and not having quite the debate skills, and not, well, he's a fierce campaigner. It's just that he's not reaching. I mean, his audience. Okay, I'm a marketer in terms of ad sales, in terms of nutritional and media related products and services, and you always have to look at demographics, and you have to look at buying signals, and there's certain things that Ron Paul is missing here. His base is not the Republican Party. His party is not really even the Republican Party. So how do you win over the hearts and minds of those that are going to go for the typical cookie cutter Republican? Now you might say, well, doesn't Herman Cain defy that image? Yes and no. Remember, he was a director of the Federal Reserve in St. Louis, Missouri. So he was the president. I would say director, president, whatever, of one of the regional Federal Reserve banks. Not just a bank, the Federal Reserve. He is also a very much a corporate guy. Okay, so he's a problem solver. He's a pragmatist. He's a positive person. We know that in the last report I mentioned that his positivity rating, meaning his favorables, are much greater than his unfavorables. he's coming up with, like Reagan would, he would talk in simple terms. I mean, he would draw the picture, the mental picture of his vision for America. And I have to give some credit to the Republicans by saying, you know what? Obviously, all this racism and skin color and prejudice and backwater so-called outlook just doesn't jive here. Because you do remember there was Alan Keyes that was in the race previously, and obviously conservative black guy, one of the most articulate guys, but because he focused so strongly on social issues, it really he didn't gain the traction. But you have someone like Herman Cain that has the business acumen, the credentials, very positive, doesn't attack anybody. He just simply presents his positive vision for the country. Those things are resonating. I have to give him credit. But again, this man is still in the hip pocket, back pocket, front pocket of corporate America, the Federal Reserve, and he seemingly has a very good relationship with many of those Republicans on stage. And so I think that the establishment knows they could work with him very well. So he's not, to me, an outsider. If you're part of the Federal Reserve System, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, the Federal Reserve is part of the federal government, and then you say, well, wait a minute, but then flip-flop the argument and say, well, Federal Reserve is really it's private. It's the banking world that runs it. That they have some accountability and some oversight from the feds. So which one is it? So anyway, you have to remember that corporations, and that's what this corporate greed and this Wall Street occupation has to do with, is that the fact that it's corporations, artificial entities, creatures of the state that are controlling this country and choking off the lifeblood of the world. I mean, it's parasitic. Feasting off the host, and the host is the United States of America, we the people, and you as an individual. So yes, Herman Cain is surging in a huge way. And Perry, as I mentioned before, is perishing. Palin is pathetic, will not get in. I told you Christie was flirting with it only because of Kissinger. Oh, that's a real lovely guy. Talk about a traitorous and sadistic and scum-sucking pig in this world, Henry Kissinger. So anyway, so Dr. Death. No, I'm talking about Kevorkian. I'm talking about Henry Kissinger. This demonic, diabolical Dr. Strangelove, if you will, of a guy. But I don't think he's that closely aligned with Kissinger, and I don't know what the strategy was to try to throw Christie into the mix. But he decided that he wanted to fix New Jersey and stay at home, and also be closely connected with his family, and he's not ready and he's not willing at this time. So I think he made a good choice. But I do like his blunt and his frank and his no nonsense approach, doesn't pull a punch kind of guy. So I like that blunt and frank approach. Okay, so maybe it's not always tactful and diplomatic. But other than that, but then again, he was the United States Attorney, and I have my own qualms with that. But this is the latest Newsmax poll. Cain overtakes Romney with GOP voters. This is Newsmax, one of the beacons, one of the premier publications. Now, they were also the ones that said that Donald Trump was so far ahead, but Trump was a non-candidate, never declared. So today, and I don't always date stamp these because I don't want to make them time sensitive, but it is Wednesday. It is the 5th of October, 2011. You'll be hearing this program tonight. Now, we have two airings on Wednesdays, 6 to 8, and that's primarily due to, and we want to thank DJ and the Talk Superstation, from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays. Then we do our 10 to 1 a.m., that's 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. East Coast Time, Wednesdays and Thursdays, and 2 of those 3 hours, our friends at the Z Talk Radio Network join us and in the stream. So we got 2 fine affiliates, and quite frankly, I'm not as concerned about growing internet affiliates. The ones that are loyal, the ones that are devoted, the ones that are no problems and supportive kind of allies. That's what I want. In time, do I want to go live? Do I want to expand this message to stations? And yes, indeed. And that's being worked on, and that's certainly something that I will prayerfully, God willingly, manifest. And I do have other select times if I can alert Bill Fries and TalkStream Live to list us. So there'll be select times if I see my schedule is open where we will stream. Now let me remind you, beyond the Wednesday and Thursday editions and those select times that you might see it just pop up on certain days almost randomly on TalkStream Live, and we want to thank the great innovator and integrator of all things talk radio, Bill Fries and TalkStream Live. Also want to thank Michael Savage and the Savage Nation and TRN, Talk Radio Network, for embracing and celebrating the rating success of Michael Savage and recognizing, which I have said all along, this will be a premier platform for talk shows in the alternative and also in the terrestrial field of talk shows. And Savage is, well, number 2 rated, number 3 in terrestrial radio, certainly top tier, and has been consistently, perennially. Well, he now embraces it. He's quite frankly raving, and I would have to say that he is savoring his number 2 ranking in the third quarter streaming talk shows compiled by TalkStream Live. So again, we want to thank Savage for bringing many of his listeners nationwide, worldwide, to TalkStream Live to listen to his program. And remember, if you're a host, you have a program, a station, a network, if they're coming in, the Savage Nation folks, they're not going to be listening to Savage 24/7, so they may spill over. They might actually sample at the Talk Radio Buffet your program. They might discover your program, your station, your network. So it's a good thing. So TalkStream Live has finally arrived. And we want to thank Michael Savage and the Savage Nation for contributing to that. Now, we know there have been many of you out there that have also been promoters of TalkStream Live, because if you're a talk radio fan, how can you not love this dynamic directory? How can you not want to be able to access and quench your talk radio political thirst? That's what it does. It's the broadcast buffet. It's free, and it's available to you, whether it be the internet or mobile talk apps and devices and conveyances. So again, thanks to Bill Fries, TalkStream Live. It's a fantastic directory at TalkStreamLive.com. Okay, back to this poll. Oh no, one more thing. Okay, I'll get to the poll in a second. I've decided, and most of you are unaware of this, and most of you have not taken advantage of this, and I haven't promoted it properly, but just in the last few days I started to stream 24/7. And what that means is I just go to Auto DJ, and the last half dozen shows they run in rotation. So if you're at the website, we have you'll see right underneath my the radio program information in the boxed area, you'll see the countdown to the next stream show. But then right below it, it says TD Radio 24/7. You click on the player, and you can listen anytime from anywhere. So that's available to you. Now, the advantage to that is that you don't have to participate with Podomatic, which is free. But the disadvantage is that you can't select the show. Okay, it's already in progress. So if you want to tune in while you're on the site, or you want to simply at any time click on the player and listen to what's playing, that's my 24/7 channel. The Podomatic is terrific because you can select what podcast, what report you want to tune into. You also can get the advanced copy. When I complete this broadcast, within mere moments after its production and after its publishing, you will have a copy, and you can listen at your convenience. You can also share with others because you'll have that link. You don't have to upload, you don't have to download. There's no fees because it's free. That's the way we like it. Free exchange of information. So check that out at TomDonahueReports.com, TomDonahueReports.com. If you want to go directly to Podomatic, that's fine. Or click on our archives page, TomDonahue.podomatic.com. Okay, back to the surging Herman. Well, it says here, Newsmax, it's the Newsmax Insider Advantage poll, shows businessman and former radio talk show host, which is, I mean, very few people mention that he was I'd say probably a second tier host. He was in a major market, and he had decent ratings, and he did he did a show that was popular in the Atlanta area, 50,000 watt station. The exclusive poll taken in the past 24 hours, and again I want to remind you that it is Wednesday and it is October the 5th, 2011, that Herman Cain, based on their polling data, it says here, shows Cain vaulting Romney 26 to 24%. So Cain now leads based on the polling data from Newsmax and their exclusive poll. So he's beating Romney by 2%. Several other polls show similar results, establishing Cain as a new grassroots frontrunner, deadlocked with Romney. Now, I mentioned the ABC poll at Washington Post and several others where he's right on the heels of Romney. If he does well in the next debate, and I can't imagine him doing worse. I mean, he's not a stellar superstar, but he's very likable and relatable, and people are starting to gain confidence, which means he's gaining traction in his abilities to be a chief executive officer of this country. So it's a very interesting race, to say the least. Perry still is raising a ton of money as he continues to plummet in the polls. Let's see what else we've got here. Boehner made some very strange comments relating to interference or let's say protectionist policies as the dollar versus the yen, and not wanting to interfere with. Anyway, I didn't read the whole thing. It's worthless because Bonehead Boehner will not try to protect American jobs, will not try to protect the American dollar, will not try to protect the American economy. See, I'm a proud protectionist. And if you look at Buchanan's campaign, his first campaign as president, or at least for the nomination for the Republican Party, he had a few good months there. His program, similar to Perot but more conservative, was based on American protectionism. And now you can be a protectionist and also want to have America excel, but it'd be like saying, I want my family to succeed, but I'm not going to put in there's not going to be any insurance, not going to be any protection of them. If we're living in a dangerous neighborhood, they're just going to have to fare for themselves. That's almost like saying that's what you want the American economy, the worker, the job creator, the bosses. You're just saying you're on your own, and hey, we also will subsidize you through free trade agreements and through certain government agencies. If you want to take your business, your company, your services, elsewhere, no problem. How does that contribute to the American economy except for maybe cheaper services or goods? I believe in protecting the home front. And we have an actual government agency called Homeland Security. If we want to so-called secure the homeland as it relates to foreign threats, even domestic threats, why wouldn't we want to protect ourselves in terms of our jobs and our economic security? Why would we not want to shore up, our economy? Why wouldn't we want to protect our country at all levels? We're not talking about giving a hand. We're not talking about giving. What's that expression they say? Don't give a hand out, but a hand up. That kind of thing. I mean, why wouldn't we want to be America first, and be proud protectionist? I don't understand that, but that's the way I see it. I'm an independent, although I am a protectionist, and I'm an America firster. I'm a constitutional conservative, a legitimate conservative on all fronts, maybe an ultra conservative, but certainly very independent minded, and not wedded to any prostituting political party. And they are. These politicians are prostitutes, and so many in the conservative, I was almost going to say fronting the front of the Republican Party, are simply principle less. It's all about party as opposed to principle, and it's all about republicanism rather than the republic. But that's the way I see it. Okay? So things are getting more and more interesting with Herman Cain coming on so strongly. Now, I'd have to say I did not see it coming. I thought that he would barely make the top tier because of his business resume and because of his likability. But wow, this is if he didn't have the Federal Reserve connections, and if he wasn't so tied to corporate America, I would say, wow, this guy is an attractive candidate. This guy is very appealing, and still somewhat appealing if you say opposed to Obama, the Obama nation. No doubt about that. Speaking of Obama and the Obama nation and the occupation of Wall Street, these people should be denouncing Obama and his ties to Goldman Sachs, just like the Bush administration ties to Goldman Sachs and TARP and these bankster bailouts. We're beholden to the banksters. This is a bankster nation, which are really, you could say, a gangster nation, and we're being held economically hostage, and we have been hijacked by these banksters and gangsters. So many issues I want to get to. I get rolling here, and then I realize I have other commitments, and if someday I hope and pray we'll get back to live programming, and we can expand our subject range, although there will be, probably at that level, there will be commercial interruption. So I'm kind of torn, but I really would like to do this full-time career-wise, and we'll see how that goes. And we're working on that. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying my independence. I'm enjoying being able to produce these programs at whatever length, regardless of. There's no restrictions right now. It's free range. So I like being a free ranger. I like being a free mind, a free spirit, beholden to no man except Creator God, and I don't have to cater, coddle, or in any way bow or bend to the whims or to the edicts of anybody. All right, thank you for joining us. Tom Donahue for Tom Donahue Reports. Please check out the website, tomdonahuereports.com. Make sure you like us on Facebook, like us on Podomatic. Make sure you spread the word, tell others, because this program is produced to educate, to enlighten, to inspire, and I hope that's what we bring you. But check out all the resources that are available to you and share with others at tomdonahuereports.com. Again, that's tomdonahuereports.com. Till we meet again, may God bless you. God bless our great country. Have a great day.